Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. Well, happy Thursday, friends. I am excited to introduce you to Ruth Klein today. She is a brand 360 strategist and sales conversion coach. She's the author of 7 best-selling books and works with high-achieving entrepreneurs, coaches, sales professionals, and company founders. Her focus is to help her clients expand into bigger possibilities and higher income and make a major impact far beyond their perceived goals and expectations. With a successful career that spans over 30 years, she has helped her clients create a 360 brand and convert their expertise and content into high-ticket clients and programs, hundreds of millions of dollars for founders, nearly $1 million one-year consulting gig for an Inc. 500 pass executive, filled her legal and financial clients' businesses, and helped newbies write best-selling books and speeches. Ruth holds a master's degree in clinical psychology and a master's degree in spiritual psychology with an emphasis on health, consciousness, and healing. So that's a lot of information about Miss Ruth. She is amazing. I hope that you'll go follow her on social. She's just got a very contagious personality. When she talks, you can tell she's super passionate about what she does. So I know you're going to love this episode. So get ready and let's do this. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. I'm your host, Martine Williams, and your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And today I'm bringing you another amazing turquoise talk guest. You know, I love bringing on other entrepreneurs, mompreneurs to share their journey with us. Everyone has a story, and I think we can learn from other people's story, be inspired by other people's story. And so I'm really excited to have Ruth Klein on the podcast today. So thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today on the show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here, Martine. Thrilled.
And her favorite color is turquoise too. So we have that in common.
Yeah, just look at my website. I think there's some aqua there, turquoise.
It's such a happy color, isn't it?
It is a happy color. And you know, it's funny. That's kind of my brand color. You know, when I see an outfit or a shirt in aqua or turquoise, it says Ruth Klein on it. So
yes. I literally had someone yesterday who sent me a picture of 2 office chairs that were in turquoise. She was in Home Goods and she's like, you need these. I'm like, I have nowhere to put them, but they're beautiful. So it's
you know, it's interesting. You're probably the same coloring that I am because your peach goes gorgeous with turquoise.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Anyway.
We could talk about the happy color all day long, couldn't we? So tell us a little bit, besides the fact that you love turquoise, I want to get that out there first and foremost, but tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and just, you know, how you came into the business that you're in today.
Okay, great. So I've written several books. They're bestsellers. I'm writing my 8th now. It's going to be a parenting book. And the other books have been Time Management Secrets for Working Women, The De-Stress Diva in the Kitchen, How to Make Meals in 30 Minutes or Less. And I basically got here, I do a lot of brand strategy. Okay. No matter if someone wants to write a book, if someone wants to go from corporate to becoming an entrepreneur, if they want to capitalize on content and monetize it, all of that takes strategy and has to be with your brand. And the startling fact is that most entrepreneurs do not know what their brand is. They don't know what their brand is. We think of branding, we think of websites, colors, and materials, but that's not it. And one of the reasons it's so difficult for many people to put a website together is because they don't do the first part of the brand, which is who are they? What do they stand for? I mean, there's many aspects. And then when the website is ready, it literally writes itself. When I work with clients and I know they want a website and I brand them, we literally write the website as we brand. And that's the ideal. And then what you do, and then you give that information to the web designer, and then they make it all pretty. But what happens is it's a lot more expensive the way that it's done now, because the web designer doesn't know what branding is really. They might say they do, but they're thinking of colors and things of that sort. So this is where I am. And I love branding because it's who a person is. And I've always, since a little girl, loved hearing people's stories. I just find it fascinating. And there are no two brands alike. There are no two people alike. Even twins, we have twins in our family. Even they have different fingerprints. So having a really brand that speaks to you and you're in alignment with really is a huge thing. And so I started teaching college when I was in college, getting my master's degree in clinical psychology. And when I would bring in psychology into my classes, people loved it because I was also working under the auspices of a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and I would bring the real life psychology stories, and they loved it. And then I loved it. And then one of my clients happened to work for a Fortune 500 company. Wow. And introduced me to the HR person. And next thing I knew, I was their training department on the soft skills, but those soft skills matter.
Right.
Performance appraisals, communication, time management, on and on, marketing. So that's how it started many moons ago. And then I just started, we grow. We want to make sure that we're always growing and we're always adding some things and changing some things around. And that's basically what I've done my whole career.
Right.
And so because I love stories, because I love storytelling, because I teach that, I love speaking, I teach that, because I love writing, I do that. I now help people write their books. Yeah. And we just started this year talking about growth and expansion. We do ghostwriting now, which I'm very excited about because it's very different ghostwriting than what's out there right now. And so that is what I do, but it's not just writing the book up. Some people don't want to write a book, but how do you brand yourself? Right. How do you market yourself? How do you repurpose content? This is a big one I'm involved in now, repurposing content and then monetizing it, because we tend to reinvent the wheel and we don't have to.
Yes.
So that kind of brings us up to today.
Well, that's awesome. I love, and they'll get to see because you will share some snippets of video from this. But as you're listening to the podcast, if you're not able to watch the snippets that I put out there, like your smile is so contagious, and you can tell that you just have pure joy in what you do. And so you're modeling that in what you do, and you're helping other people to do that as well. And so if you whenever we do promote this, just go look at it because it just make you smile looking at her. I mean, she's just so full of joy, and I love that. And as someone who just went through my first website creation and kind of a rebranding of myself, I will say that behind the scenes work of really figuring out, what I stand for, what I offer, like what my story is, all of those things. Like we want to go to the fun stuff, like the colors and the fonts and all of that.
Right.
We do, but it was so much work. It took a lot longer than I expected because I really needed to spend some time with those questions that they gave me to give them so they could create this beautiful website. And so we could get the copyright so people really understood. And even now as I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, maybe I want to tweak it here. I want to tweak it there. So it's not a one and done, right? Because
no, it's definitely not.
Yeah,
exactly.
Beautiful.
And it's a living, I call a website a living entity. It lives as you live on. And you're, as you add a new program or you take one away or you expand, that all goes on your website. So it's living. A book is a living entity. I mean, for gosh sakes, it's going to be in the Library of Congress. It's going to be there longer than we are. I've written 7 books so far. And after my second book, I was in Washington, D.C., giving a speech. And it was really cold outside. So I hired a car, and he took me to the Library of Congress, and I ran out there because I'm from California. And I went up to the receptionist and I said, could I please see the book? Where Did the Time Go? It's for working women. Where did the time go? And he goes, I'm so sorry. We're so busy. I go, oh no. I said, I'm the author. And he said, you're the author? I said, yes. I just wanted to touch my book that's in the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
And he goes,
Yeah.
I'll be right back. And he went and he got me my book.
Wow.
My first book, Where Did the Time Go for Working Women? And I actually touched the book that lives in the Library of Congress. I probably cried. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
It was emotional.
Yeah.
And then I pushed my luck and I said, I have another book. Manage your time.
Because you're not busy enough.
Could I see that? He goes, I'm so sorry. I go, okay, that's fair.
The answer is always no if you don't ask, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I went back I can't tell you, I'll always remember that pivotal moment when I touched my book that I wrote in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., that's going to live on far beyond me. Yeah. Every time I think of that, I get goosebumps. I get goosebumps. Yeah. And so it is truly a living entity. And every book you write is a legacy, because a legacy is how many the way I define it, how many people can you touch? How many people can you impact? And the more people that you can touch and impact, the higher level of legacy you leave. And you don't leave it. You could be 32 years old and have a legacy, because your legacy is everything in terms of who you are up until this point. And what is that? That's a brand. Right. A brand, everything, so it all comes together. I look at things holistically. Right. And so, a lot of people, when they write a book, then they go to another program and help write speech. Why? That information is right there. And because I'm a speaker, I can help them with that. They want to start a program or did a digital, they go to another program. Why? It's right there as we're making it, as we're writing this book, because I help them with that as well. It's so much more than writing a book, although writing a book is huge. But the point is, all of this is what we're doing. When we decide to go into business, we are now the CEO. Right. And we need to start looking at ourselves as the CEO, as the leader of our company, as the leader of ideas. And then that takes us where? It takes us to becoming a thought leader. And this is huge, to become a thought leader in your industry. So these are all the love points that I help my clients with. Yeah. All amazing. I mean, all the books you rattled off, I'm like, I need to buy that. I need to listen to that. I'm going to add all of those to my library. My audio, I really started to listen to books on audio as I'm walking the dog, just because right now in the season I'm in, that's how I'm able to get the reading in. And then if I really love it, I'll buy the hard copy, because I'm also a hard copy. I like to make notes. Yeah, I know. I do too. I know. I am such a hard copy person too. Yeah. And what I love about that, actually, Martine, is that you're being productive. For those viewers who want a free ebook, it's on my website, and it's a 5-step guide to productivity and increasing income, because it truly is true. Time equals money. It really, really does. And the more time you have, the more money you'll have. However, that being said, there's a caveat. It's about being productive. Right. It's not about putting in time. It's about being productive. I often, jumping to mompreneurs, I often say that it's not the amount of time you're with your child. It's the quality of time you're with your child. Yeah. I worked part-time to 3/4 to full-time, depending on when the kids were growing up. And I always made sure that I had quality time with each child. Yeah. I can remember when I was building my first business, and my
kind of coach or leader at the time, her kids were older. Mine were still young. I was still doing naps and all the things. I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, I can't wait for the day to where I have that, 8 to or 9 to like 3 chunk while her kids are at school. I was working in the nooks and crannies of time. And then when I got there, I was like, well, it's not about having more time. It's like you said, it's being more productive with the time that you have. If it's an hour, how can you be more productive in that hour? If it's a 30-minute block, like don't have the all or nothing mentality when it comes to your time. It is about being more productive, because more time for sure does not mean more productivity.
That's exactly right. And, we're talking minutes. I mean, we're talking seconds even. I mean, heaven forbid, a car accident can happen within seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So time is important. Mm-hmm. And when you think of 5 minutes, think of the times when you thought, oh, if I just had 5 more minutes, if I just had 10 more minutes to finish this. So those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll give everyone a tip, if I may.
Yes, I'd love that.
So when I have to do stuff that I don't want to do, like organize papers, because what I do is very paper heavy, because I like to, notebooks, and I like to write everything down, and then I like to type it and print it out and then put it into folders. I mean, I have plenty online too. And so what I do is I go to the oven, I go to the kitchen, I go to the oven, and I put 20 minutes. I'm telling you, 20 focused minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You can get 30, 40 minutes done. And that you have 20 minutes. And so I'm so focused. Yeah. And that's what makes you productive, is being consciously productive. Mm. I did a morning motivation. I do morning motivation audios with my clients. And I spoke at the difference of what focus is. Focus is only good if it's intentional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can focus on your phone, you can focus on social media, but it needs to be intentional. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that success is really consistency, is being consistent. That's what gets you to success. Right. So if you're intentionally focused and you're consistently focused and working on a project, you're going to be successful at it. So, to your point, Martine, when you said, behind the scenes working on the website really made a difference. It's behind the scenes. It's that intention that you have. We all have an intention. We're just not awake to it. We're not conscious to it. We just kind of go through the day like sleepwalking. And so when we wake up, and we're intentional about our day and the things that we're doing in our day, wow, can we be more productive? And then you add that 20 minutes and I'm going to get that done. Now, I believe people need to work within their biorhythm. So most people have high energy in the morning. I'm not going to organize in the morning. No way. And what does corporate have? Meetings first thing in the morning. Wrong.
It kind of produces a stalling, doesn't it?
It really, really does. It really it's like taking a racehorse, and then there's going to be a race, but before we race, let's just kind of sit a while, kind of daydream a little bit. Oh, let's just listen to the trainer. Oh, and now you want us to race? It's going to take us a little bit longer to get back into gear, because when people start their day, they're in gear. They're thinking about what they need to do. Let them do it. Let them do it. Yeah. 2 great times to have meetings, by the way, is right before lunch. People aren't going to, go overtime, and before work ends, whether it's virtual or not. And the other thing is stand up. Even if the meeting is on Zoom, stand up. Everyone stands up.
Right.
And the meetings are no more than 20 minutes. Think about it. If you can give TED Talks in 20 minutes and they're powerful, can't you lead a meeting in 20 minutes?
Absolutely.
So, but
and
again,
a lot of meetings could just be an email. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so where are we back? We're back to focus. We're back to intentional focus. Right. What is this meeting going to be about? So that's, so the 20-minute, that's a really helpful little guide that has helped me. But I do that in the afternoons, because in the by 4 o'clock, unless I have a client, I'm done. I'm not gonna. That's not my creative time. My creative time is 6 in the morning until about 2. I'm just a little, ever ready battery.
Yeah. So since you're talking about that, or do you time block like your days? Do you find that you like calendar block or time block, or how?
So I hate to say this, but in that time management, then I did a second book, Time Management Secrets for Working Women. And there's a whole chapter that talks about how to block out the actual calendar day. So I'm going to show you my calendar. Now, it might look a little full there, but what I've done in the actual calendar day. So for example, if I fly out, I go out to New York on Tuesday, but I see this Monday is completely clear. My two sons are going to be there. I've taken the whole day off before a trip, might I add, to be with my boys.
Right.
Okay. And so that makes me feel good. But if there's an emergency, I have time. I haven't done boom, 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 boom before a trip. That'll drive you nuts.
Yeah.
And so I believe that 80% of our stress is time induced. So it behooves us to get a program going. But in the course of the day, I divide it into 3 equal parts, Martine. From the time you wake up to noon, from noon until 4, and then from 4 on. And what's so beautiful is that you just, I don't go boom, for example, today starts at 8 a.m., then 9 a.m., then I have the podcast with you, then I have 11:30, I have a client call, then 12 to 2. And you can see that 12 to 2 is in the center. You may not be able to see it, but that's the center. And then I see towards the latter third, I have a 5 p.m. and then I go dancing at 7:30. So
another thing that we have in common, dancing.
Oh, I love to dance. Oh my God. Years ago, I was in 42nd Street and my children brought me long-stemmed roses.
Oh, how sweet. That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, thanks for breaking that down just so the listeners can kind of hear. I mean, everybody kind of has their own system. So, take some of what Ruth has shared and kind of work that into what you're doing. If what you're doing right now is not working, I highly suggest you kind of break it down like she was saying, find your system. Right.
Yeah. Find your system and start with a system and then make it your own.
Right.
So dividing it into thirds. So I can look at any day and I see right here on the 19th, after 2:00, my whole day is open. It's free. So if someone wants to have a meeting, I know exactly where to go.
Right.
Plus, I try and keep my mornings. Most days I keep my mornings free because that's the time that I think, that's the time I do my marketing. That's the time that I do a lot of that stuff. And so again, work within your biorhythm. So my time's early in the morning. The best. You might have your best time starting at noon. So make that noon to 4 period your high energy time. Do that marketing and maybe make the calls and all of that.
Yeah. I love that. Hey, friend. So you have been trying to make some shifts this year. Maybe you set some resolutions and you're just feeling stuck. You don't feel like you're making progress, or you're just not sure what to do. And you've heard me say this before, but being stuck is a mindset, not a position. And this is where a coach comes in to support you. Because here's what I know to be true about you, friend. If you could have done it alone, you would have already done it, period. And as a life coach and a certified PDP professional, I specialize in using a research-based personality and performance survey called the ProScan to illuminate how your unique personality and natural strengths, your work and life environments are influencing real-time performance. So here's what you need to do. Go to the link in the show notes and book your free clarity call to learn more about how I can support you in your goals. I can't wait to illuminate your strengths, cultivate your confidence, and elevate your life. So we have to dive into just a little bit. And we could spend hours talking about the book writing process and monetization and marketing and all of that. But I do want to publish a book at some point. And so I would love just for information for someone else. I'm sure there's someone else who's listening who is thinking about, I have a book, I have a story, I have a message that I want to share, but the whole book writing process seems a little daunting. I have several friends that have written books and they've had great experiences. And I've heard kind of their behind the scenes, like how long does it take? What's the process like? But for someone who's written 7 best-selling, I'd love to hear what your take is on that. And you teach this too, and you coach to this. So you're an expert
Yes.
in this.
I'm going to give you a cautionary tale.
Okay.
So there is someone who wrote a book, had a book coach, published it, and nothing was happening with the book. She wasn't enrolling clients. So she lives in a different country, and she found out about me somehow. And she contacted me, and I basically told after I interviewed her for about 20 minutes, and then I reviewed her book, I basically said, I am so sorry, but this book does not represent you. That is why it's not branded to you. Doesn't represent you. It's not in your voice. Mm-hmm. And she goes, oh, no, you don't understand. I had a book coach. I published it. I said, the only thing I would keep is the book cover because that was really great. So anyway, she rewrote her book with me and she had her first $10,000 weekend. I share that with you because another gal was she was going after $1 million. She wanted her business to reach $1 million and it was going in that direction. She said, Ruth, I've always wanted to write a book, but I think the time will be too much and it'll take me away from working on my business. I said, I'll tell you what, because I have a whole system and I work with a lot of busy people and I am busy. And if it's too much and it's interfering, I'll give you your money back and you'll keep what you got. And so she started and then she finished her book in record time. And she said it helped her reach her $1 million. She was so happy. The point is, it's not about writing a book. There's an alarming statistic that says out of 1,000 people that start to write their book, only 30 will complete it.
Wow.
Of those 30, most of those people will only sell 100 books or less for the lifetime of the book. So there are certain things. There's a reason that you have become a bestseller. There's a reason that your book does the heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. It helps connect with clients. It helps people want to work with you. It helps you to get media attention. It helps you. I mean, you can't really contact the O magazine to get in there, but if they contact you, it's a slam dunk. And they contacted me twice.
Right.
Why? Because it's the what I call the structure and the strategy of writing the book, and then the marketing, and then the monetization, as you said. All those pieces are important, including becoming a bestseller. And a bestseller does not mean you have to be number 1. It's the top 10 in a category. Great.
Right.
Anyway, so because that does carry, I wish mine were New York Times bestsellers, but we never know. We never know.
Maybe that 8th book.
Yes. So there's a way to do it. And I try, because I work with very busy entrepreneurs, CEOs, visionaries, founders, I need to make sure that this system works for them. So, I'm a big believer in working within your own time element energy. So I work with them and helping them develop that and help them find the time to work on writing the book. Then we have to create, what is the structure going to be? What is the strategy? I had a client who didn't want to do any coaching. She just wanted to speak. Right. And when she started with me, she was getting like $250 a speech. She now gets like $25,000 a speech. She speaks for Coca-Cola and all the other large companies. But that's what she wanted. So we had to do the strategy throughout the book for that and structure it. And so you want the book to do a heavy lifting. If you have a book and it's not bringing in money, then it's not doing the heavy lifting. And that usually means it doesn't represent you and what you're doing. So it might be an easy tweak, or it might be, there's a couple of ways you can go about it without having to rewrite the book. that's the first part that's really important that people need to know, because most people, when they start to write a book, they basically just kind of onto the page, and it requires so much more than that. I'm very pleased that I've done every aspect of a book.
Right.
I've written book proposals. They've been bought from publishers. I have had literary agents. I've agented books myself. I worked with the publishers. I'm not a publisher, but I work with publishers. My clients, they get published with publishers or hybrid publishers, and marketing is a big deal. And so I help my clients start marketing their books, Martine, 30 days after starting writing the book. There's certain things that they can start doing to do that. And then I also show them how to monetize. And then speaking is a great thing. So let's put together a signature speech around your book. So all these pieces make the book work for you, become a bestseller, and you're able to monetize your content.
I love that you said just, starting as you're writing the book to marketing, because one of the things that I've experienced, whether it was the course I was creating, the podcast I was launching, coaching, like even the building of my website, I kind of took my audience along with me on the journey, and they knew that I was working on something. They knew I was, trying to put something together for them. And they a lot of times they helped me co-create like what the cover art was going to be like, what the music, behind the podcast show was going to be, or the course. Like they really helped co-create. And when they do that, they get behind the launch.
Absolutely. That was brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm going, as I mentioned, I'm in New York next week. And so I sent an email. It's time to mingle, my New York friends and clients. And so we're all going to the rooftop of where I'm staying, and we're going to mingle and celebrate. And for people who know me, I'll do anything, almost anything to celebrate, almost anything, because life is too short.
Yes, it is.
And we all have stories. We all had pivotal moments and experiences, and we realize that life is precious and it's fragile. And if I can celebrate anything, I will.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And so and I've had so many responses. I said, just, email me back. It's just so cool, because some of the people in my database, I haven't met them yet.
Right.
Or they've opted in with my website or other things, but I haven't connected with them in that way personally. So I'm really excited about it.
I wish I lived in New York. I would be on the rooftop with you.
I know.
You need to come to South Carolina.
Well, it's interesting. I am going to be doing a book tour second quarter of next year. And I have several clients and friends evidently in Colorado, around, Denver, Boulder. So I'll be going to probably 10 cities. I had that planned, actually, Martine, in 2020. My book came out, Generation Why Not, came out March 2020, when Governor Newsom closed down California. Yes. And so there went my 10 city tour. There went a lot.
Right. But you made the best of it, and I've talked about that on the podcast before. Like, you have to learn to pivot, and that word, that was such a word. That was such that word. Pivot. And I think we all got tired of hearing that word, pivot, but it's true. Those that were able to have that growth mindset and figure it out, and like didn't wait for things to go back to normal, whatever normal is, are the ones that are still in business today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, quite honestly, as a CEO of your company, you're always pivoting. You're always pivoting. This morning, I was doing a training for a colleague for their clients, and my computer was stalled. And, I'm a firm believer that you need to have a SWAT team. I wrote this in my time management for working moms. You've got to have a SWAT team for home, and you've got to have a SWAT team for business. And I have a SWAT team. In this case, I have a computer guy who is on retainer, and he can get into my computer at any time of day, and he gets in there and he fixes it. And then I breathe, and then we're good to go again. And with moms out there, you've got to have a SWAT team.
Yeah.
What happens if you get sick? What happens if the children get sick? What
Yeah.
happens if you have to go in at the last minute or do something in business or travel or whatever? You've got to have that SWAT team already ready to go.
Yeah.
It'll alleviate so much stress. I mean,
Right.
heavy duty stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that for sure. That community, you got to have that tight knit community and those that you can call upon. It just makes your brain not even have to worry about it. Cause you're like, I've got that figured out. If something happens, I've got it figured out.
That's right. And you have it someplace. So everyone in the family knows where it is.
Right.
And even your SWAT team has a copy of it as well, if you want. And then your SWAT team at work is your team.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the gap between you and profitability. Do you mind kind of diving into that a little bit?
No,
I mean, again,
no,
I could ask you so many more questions about the book writing process, but let's talk a little bit about that, the gap between you and profitability.
Okay. So here's you and here's profitability. What's in the center? The center is, believe it or not, most entrepreneurs are not clear on who their ideal target market is.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Number two, we usually have more than just one. Mm-hmm. And so there's you, there's profitability. So in between there, got to know who you are, who your ideal clients are, in what category, for example. So I work with mompreneurs and moms. I also work with business and professionals. I do also collaborative books. So let's say that there is a mom group and they're focused on something. They might want to each write a chapter and have a collaboration book. Yeah. And then I help them have it become a bestseller and help them, develop their chapters and all of that. And so those are two different markets. Yes and no, and yes and no. I've got to know where it veers off and where it doesn't. I work a lot with CEOs, and I do what's called soul-centered coaching. So the owners of their companies, and I do that. So that's a different offshoot. Another division is ghostwriting now. So who wants a book ghostwritten? People that are very, very busy. And they don't want to deal with it. They just want someone to write a really good book, have them become a bestseller, and then help them with their business. So these are all divisions, I'll call them. Then what are the best marketing strategies? So, there's so much, Martine. You opened up this huge budget.
I know this is a loaded question. I mean, we could spend an hour just on what you just talked about.
Just huge. So every month of the year has a different purpose for your business and marketing. And September is the month where really important that you look back to see which marketing strategies, I'm doing this right now, have worked and how much it ended up costing you, the expense of it, and which marketing strategies that didn't work. And the third one is which marketing strategy you love doing, but it didn't bring in any money.
Yeah.
So how do you monetize that? Yeah. How do you tweak that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't forget that, because many people forget that. I love to do these pocket coaching audios, these morning momentums. I love it because I'm always finding insights in life.
Yeah.
And I love to share. It's like, I don't know, they're like 2 to 4.5 minutes and people are loving them. Yeah. Is it really a moneymaker? No. So I have to tweak it. Do I know how I'm going to tweak it now? Yes, I know how I'm going to tweak it. So, but again, that's all that I have to. So September is a wonderful month. And also, what do you want to do moving forward? In October, you want to know what your 2024 looks like, if not in September. So that opens up a huge thing. So that's part of the gap. what is making money, what is not, what is cost effective and what is not. For example, I did a 1-day summit. I loved it. I'm in love with the women that I interview, the entrepreneurs. It was complete. I lost money on that. It cost far, 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 far more than anything that I brought in. Okay. But I loved it. So how am I gonna tweak that?
It.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I have a podcast that I pretty much put on pause since 2020. I could do the same thing and interview these incredible women on a podcast and not have a team on call for an hour. Four people.
Yeah.
And I pay very, very well.
Right.
And so, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things we do that we love. Yeah.
The gap between you, what you're doing, the marketing, what's working, what's not, how to tweak it, and then you get profitability.
Yeah. Yeah. It starts with being aware, right? And measuring.
Oh, it's
pausing to measure the things.
It's being intentional.
Yeah.
It's not giving up and going, nothing works.
Right.
It's not, nothing, you know what? I just don't get this. I'm just going to go get a job. No. I can't do this because I have children at home. No.
Right.
No. And so, my responsibility as a coach and a consultant is to help people fill in the gap.
Yeah.
So they can go from who they are to profitability.
Right.
And I often say that I help people work and live in their genius zone because, I love to interview people. Why? Because I love stories, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's back to the beginning. I want to hear stories. And both of my parents are from Europe and they had incredible stories that came after World War II. And maybe that's where it's from, but they're just emotional. They can, that's how we connect as human beings. That's what we want to do. Even when we write nonfiction books, we want to connect with people.
Right.
And we first have to connect with ourselves. And so being able to have that clinical psychology and spiritual psychology background, having had the European parents and the stories and all, just all created who I am today. And I love working in my genius zone. And I know when I'm in my genius zone, it makes me happy. And I can have a client at 5 p.m. and then I'm full of energy. So I love working with clients. Right. I love interviewing people. I love trainings. I love podcast guesting. I just love this stuff.
Right.
I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. And a lot does, though, I know. And so it's, how am I going to have for me to the profitability on everything that I'm doing?
Right.
And I want to work in my genius zone.
Yeah.
And, with the dancing, that's living in my genius zone. I'm not the best dancer, but man, I love it. And I'm happy, doing it.
Oh, yes.
And once in a while, I actually get the steps right. And I'm okay with that. And so that's what I help people do.
Yeah. Well, I know you're making a big impact. I can just tell, just like when you start talking about it, just the passion just exudes from you, and in your smile and in the way you share the stories and the work that you're doing with your clients. And you have lots of different clients that you're doing a lot of different things with, but it all boils down to, your primary passion. And I love that. I love the work that you're doing. Can you tell us right now, like, what are you most excited about in your business or in your life? Just as we wrap up?
Okay. I'm really excited about the ghostwriting because that's, a new division, and doing it differently and what I think is better. And then the other thing is, I have a nonprofit called Universal Mom, and it's helping children and teens uncover their brilliance through the art of writing.
Love that.
And so this is perfect with the parenting book that I'm writing now. And I did a pilot program with 2 teens, and it was very, very successful in that. One of the girls was a senior. She was getting, I think, a D- in English. She had had a tutor. Her mother signed her up for the 8-week class. And she went to her final, her English final, and it was worth, I don't know, like 60%.
Yeah.
And she started and she immediately thought, I can't do this. The old pattern, I can't do this. And then something clicked. We had only had 4 sessions, Martine, out of 8. And something clicked in terms of what we said in the class. And she goes, huh. And she started writing. She ended up getting an A-
Wow.
on the paper. And the teacher said, where have you been all year? She ended up getting a C or C- in the class. She graduated high school. She was able to go to college, but here's the best part. She used to hate English. She signed up for an English class.
Wow.
Because the way that I teach is very different than most people.
Right.
And
right.
I have them look for meaning, for the meaning of things.
Right.
And because that's, what I love to do.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was just one of the gals that were, was in the class. So, and it's for guys and gals, but the gals are separate and the guys are separate because there are issues that some gals don't want to share with guys and guys don't want to share with the boys at the teen level. So anyway, so that is what I'm very excited about now.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome work. So we'll definitely put all the links to all the things that you have to offer where you can connect. Where's the best place for them to connect with you if they want to chat or, want to email you or are you on? So what's your favorite social media platform that you're on?
Instagram. I love Instagram because I get it.
Because you like the stories. Because you like the stories.
Yes. And they can DM me. Yes. Or they can go to my website, ruthklein.com. Klein is Klein. I would suggest you sign up and get the ebook on productivity and increase income. And on that website, of course, you can chat with me. You can chat with ruthklein.com if you want to do it by telephone, or you can go www.talkwithruthklein.com if you want a Zoom call with me. I'd love to help you strategize on where you are. Maybe it's that gap that you don't have any direction. Maybe I can give you some direction. I know I can give you some direction. Maybe it's managing your time. You are completely filled up to here. Maybe I can help you find an opening there.
Right.
Where you can have less stress. Maybe you want to start writing a book, or maybe you have a book and nothing's happening. Maybe I can help give you some ideas of what you can do next. So any of those, I would love to connect with you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm pretty sure everybody is running to get that free ebook on productivity because, it's just a process. We're a work in process as mompreneurs. And like you said, it's being intentional about finding the time, you're making the time for what matters most. So I can't wait. I'm going to go check it out myself. So I appreciate you sharing that with all of us. And this was such a great interview. I know it was super helpful. And there's lots of things that Ruth can help you with. So be sure to go and check her out on all of those social media platforms, her website. And I know that we'll stay in touch. And hopefully you'll come to the East Coast, to South Carolina at some point, and I'll meet you on a rooftop somewhere, and we'll have have dinner and some conversation.
Do you ever get to Durham, North Carolina by any chance?
It's not far. It's only about 6 hours from me. So yes, I would make the drive. I have some friends there, so we can get a group together.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. You're on.
Okay. All right, friends. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in today. Thank you again, Ruth, for being on the podcast. And ladies, that I'm believing in you always, and I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.